Hey everybody, welcome back to the next Clash Brothers YouTube video. Wanted to throw an attack guide out at you today for the Yeti Smash. It's been about a week since our last video, and that's because anytime we put out one of these attack guide videos, we really want to be researched, really want to be thorough about it. And so for the past week, I've been taking variations of the Yeti Smash to Legends League. There are tons of different ways that you can tweak your army, different supportive troops that you can have behind your Yetis, and different spell combinations that you can do with it. Really one of the most versatile attacks, one of the strongest attacks, and absolutely the most popular attack today. And so wanted to put a video out about some nuances to it, how to do it, especially if you're coming into this week of CWL, wanting to try out the Yeti Smash, or wanting to build a base to defend it. So we'll go ahead and hop into our last war. Has a couple replays that I think are good examples of the Yeti Smash. We'll look into this triple against Marky Mark by Dad Z. We had a regular war that we spun before CWL against Blue Clasher Z, and Dad Z comes out with this triple against Marky Mark. This is a pretty standard Yeti Smash with one exception, and I'll explain that in just a moment. But before we get into this replay, I want to talk a little bit about what the Yeti Smash is, why it works, and why it's so popular. The Yeti unit was introduced back in December when Town Hall 13 dropped, and that was at the meta of Max Town Hall 12, when most everyone was doing a P.E.K.K.A. Smash. They would take several P.E.K.K.A.s, a Grand Warden walk leading into it, and it was a definite high percent 2-star. There were different combinations of how to get 3 stars with it. The P.E.K.K.A. Smash was usually a 2-star. The P.E.K.K.A. Bow Bat, if you'll remember, was probably the most prominent 3-star strategy with bat spells. But because of that, people were still using multi-targeting Infernos. People were still doing a lot more splash damage and not designing bases specifically against ground attacks because they wanted to prevent the bat spells at the end. And so encountering that meta, we introduce the Yeti troop. And the Yeti is like the P.E.K.K.A., but a little bit better, in my opinion. It's healthy. It deals a good chunk of damage as it walks around. It moves relatively quickly, but it is a ground unit similar to the P.E.K.K.A., and it can't attack over walls, with the exception of the notorious Yetimites. The Yetimites will jump out and target defenses over walls, and so when you get to the point and attack, when the Yetis are just hitting on a wall, same thing with the P.E.K.K.A. Smash, the attack stalls out a whole lot, it gets a lot slower, but Yetis are still able to be pretty productive in that time with their Yetimites, whereas P.E.K.K.A.s were not. And so it took this attack that was already meta and made it even stronger with this new troop. And probably the best thing about Yetis, especially in today's meta, is that they are not super spell hungry. You know, if you're taking a hybrid attack, we covered a hybrid video last week, miners and hogs, they need heals. If you're going to have a successful attack with miners and hogs, you need heal spells on top of them. Lalo, if you're bringing balloons to an attack, you have to have hastes, you have to have rages. They need those spells. A Yeti, you know, it benefits from a rage, you know, it benefits from freezing things around, it benefits from spells, but it doesn't require them really in the same way as a hybrid does, in the same way as a Lalo does. And because of that, it frees up a lot of your spell space to do other things, namely open up the base. And that is the way that you get a successful Yeti Smash, is you identify the base and how to open it up most efficiently. This replay has kind of a unique funnel. He uses some sneaky gobs to funnel off this this dark elixir storage here in just a moment. And he'll immediately drop the Siege Barrack here in a second to funnel the top half. Now, I disagree with that just a little bit. We'll talk about the better ways to use the Siege Barrack in the next 2 replays that we look over. But yeah, there it goes. But here, I want to point out how effective he is in opening up this base. Those 4 Quake spells opened up all of these compartments to get all 4 Expos, the Town Hall, a Grand Warden, which is nice, Eagle Artillery, both scatter shots, and then 2 out of the 3 Inferno Towers. All of the value of the base is just opened up right there. The Archer Queen, too, opened up right there with those 4 Quake spells, and that is huge. He was able to identify that and get the biggest opening that he could find. Now, he drops the Siege Barracks here to funnel. You can see the defenses are already targeting the Siege Barracks. They go down really quickly. Only a couple wizards come out. And so I think there's a better way of using the Siege Barracks. The next couple replays will address that. And then he drops the rest of his army down here. He has a jump to get into the area that he opened up to make sure that the Yetis don't walk away on him. And the attack is smooth sailing so far. You'll see that he drops a rage in just a moment, and the way that you drop rages is a little bit unique for a Yeti Smash compared to a Queen Walk, compared to other types of attacks. You don't want to lead your army with the rages in the same way that you would for bowlers and witches or things like that. Typically, you'll want to lead it so that as they walk through that rage, they benefit from it for the maximum amount of time. But you really want to make sure you get your healers into the rage, and these healers walk right into the rage. It's lost a little bit on the Warden ability right here, but with 3 Expos, a Scatter Shot, and Eagle Artillery in the Town Hall all targeting him, he uses his Warden ability, and that's one of the strongest parts of the Yeti Smash, is you're not required to use your Warden ability over the Town Hall. In a hybrid, if your troops are going over the Town Hall, you have to. In a Lalo, if your troops are going over the Town Hall, you have to use your Warden ability. But for a Yeti Smash, if they go over and they take it out themselves, they're healthy enough to live through the explosion. And then oftentimes we'll see in the next replay, you're able to take out the Town Hall without even putting your troops on top of it. And so he's a little careless, I think, with the free spell. It helps a little bit at the end of that Warden ability, but it's still up for, the Warden ability is still up for a chunk of the free spell. And the troops are going through, they take out that Town Hall, they live through the blast, just like we said. Yetimites pop out because of that. And we're about to hit an important point in the attack right now, where they have taken out every building in the area that's been opened up. The Quake opened up all of these compartments, and all of those buildings are down. And from this point on in the attack, if you watch closely, you'll see the Yetis here are targeting the wall. They're not going to get any value for the rest of the attack. There's a minute left in the replay, and they're not going to touch a single building. And that's the problem with Yeti Smash. There is this stalling out phase in the attack, and that can be an issue if you don't have enough resources up afterwards. But if you hit this phase of the attack, this stalling out phase, and you still have your Queen ability and you still have your Champion ability, then you're likely going to be able to get the triple. Because once the Yetis are at this point where they're hitting walls, they're going to be moving really slowly, they're going to be hit by a lot of defenses. It's tough for them to continue to be productive. And for that reason, a lot of people drop the siege barracks to funnel the base after they drop their main army. And you still have to figure out a way to funnel if you're going to do that. But that way, hogs come out at around this time in the attack if you take hogs in your clan castle. And they'll be able to swoop around and clean up some parts of the base that the Yetis won't be able to reach. But if your champ ability is still up, Champion will be able to go through. If your Queen ability is still up, she'll be able to reach over those walls. But here we can see the rest of the replay as it happens. Those Yetis are targeting a wall there. As the Queen takes out the buildings, the Yetis go up and start targeting another wall, and they're not going to get more value. The Champion is taking out the Tesla farm up here. The bowlers are doing some cleanup work on the bottom, but because he still has that Champion ability, because he still has the Queen ability, even though he doesn't even need to use it, the core of the base was taken out so efficiently that he was, that Queen ability wasn't necessary. He's able to clean up the rest of the base. But if, for whatever reason, you lose that Champion ability, if you use the Champion early to take out a portion of the base to funnel, or if you lose that Queen ability, if she gets targeted by an enemy hero, gets targeted by an enemy single target Inferno early on in the base, if you're not wise about how to use those resources, then by the time your Yeti Smash is stalling out, two-thirds of the way through the attack, then you're not going to be able to get the triple very easily. We've got another replay for you from Mercenary Cloud on our side, getting a triple onto Chutzpah. And his funnel is a little strange. The next replay and the last replay that we'll be looking at will show kind of the more typical funneling process that we'll see for a Yeti Smash. But here he uses 2 Yetis and 2 bowlers. It's a heavy funnel to get through a lot of camp space. But it's important in the fact that he's able to leave his siege barracks for after the main army. And that way the hogs come out exactly when you want them to come out. And he is funneling along smoothly, drops his main army, drops the heroes, the siege barracks, and his warden, has the jump spell going over here to lead them all towards the town hall, drops the Rage a little bit preemptively, but it's early enough that it'll work out. And then he Wardens, again, pretty early. He's got a couple Expos, he's got the Eagle, Artillery, single target Inferno, would be taking out his King right now, and then 2 heroes, the King and the enemy Queen. So he Wardens early over top of all of that. Drops the poison on the clan castle, but we see this interesting interaction here with the town hall. Drops his second Rage and all of his Quake spells, and he doesn't open up the town hall compartment with his Quakes. And I think that's really, really important. We can see that his Queen is here and might, turn towards the town hall, but even without the Queen, he's got the bowlers that he takes with his attack. He's got the wizards that he brings with them, and they take out the town hall. And if you watch those health bars closely, not a single troop loses health to that town hall going down because they're on the other side of that wall. Other attacks, like the hybrid, like the Lalo, attacks will require your troops to be right on top of that town hall in order to take it out, which would necessitate the Warden ability a little bit more so. But here we find that that's not the case. He does bring Hogs with his clan castle, and so they're coming out through this top side. He drops his champion with the Hogs, and that's pretty important. Like we mentioned, to be able to support those Hogs as they go through. If there are not a lot of defenses, the Hogs might be able to take it out on their own. You can drop your champion somewhere else. But here, we've got a bomb tower alone is tough for Hogs to deal with, wizard tower, and several other defenses that they'll eventually be going through. It's really important to drop your champion to support them. And it's at this point in the attack right now that we encounter kind of a unique stalling out phase. Because these walls are opened up, the Yetis aren't going to be caught up on walls the same way that they were last time, but we'll see that they're walking closer to this 12 o'clock zone, and they're just losing their productivity. They're losing their efficiency because this is the high value portion of the base left up. This scatter shot behind walls, this Expo behind walls, the Inferno over here. And as the Yetis are walking all the way around, you're losing the value that you need from them. And so at this point in the attack, like we mentioned, if you've got your Queen ability, if you've got your Champ ability, you're probably good to go. If not, it's going to be really difficult. And here, he's got his Champ, he's got his Queen, and we can just see how valuable it is to be able to save those resources for this stage in the attack. The Queen is going down quickly, but she's able to use her ability and take out that Expo and the scatter shot. And then the Champ is able to follow through with those Hogs. One Yeti's able to help the King out with that Inferno. The others are going around the top. But the Champ is able to be a warrior, take out the back end of the base even after the Hogs go down. And Mercenary Cloud is able to save the Champion ability to use it for cleanup. And that always feels nice when you're able to do that. And so a good way of opening up the base, it left this whole back compartment open, which can be a little scary on a Yeti Smash, but he was able to save that Queen ability, save that Champ ability, and if you're trying to be successful with your Yeti Smash, that really is, I think, the key to success. Obviously getting as much value as you can from the Yeti Smash, but then being able to save that Queen ability, being able to save that Champion ability as well. We've got one last replay to show to you, and that's my hit against their number 12, another Chutzpah, but it's a little bit different. It has, I think, what's more typical for the funneling process, and that's using a Warden walk. Neither of the replays that we showed before had a Warden walk to it, but that's by far the most common way of funneling for your troops. The Warden's range is long, it's 7 tiles, the longest of any hero, and so he has a pretty safe walk, as he won't have to move a ton in order to take out a lot of buildings, in order to reach over walls and funnel for your Yeti Smash, and then he'll naturally gravitate towards your troops. We'll put out a more in-depth video soon about how to Warden walk and things to watch out for, things to do, things not to do. But for the sake of the Yeti Smash especially, you want to make sure your Warden is close enough to where you're dropping your main army that he'll follow them. If you drop him too far away, if you get ambitious with it, sometimes he walks away, and that can just be terrible because then you're wasting the Warden walk. The funnel might not be done as efficiently as you need it to be done. His ability won't be used, and you lose the healers. Just a terrible way to start the attack. And so you absolutely want to make sure that he's close enough to come to your army, for the healers to latch onto your army as well. But you also want to make sure that he doesn't take on too much, because if he starts to go down, you'll have to use a Rage. I'm only bringing 2 in this attack, and if I had to use a Rage on the Warden, that would be just awful compared to using a Rage on my entire army and my healers halfway through the attack. And then you also want to make sure that he isn't encountering the enemy heroes because they'll take him out. They'll require him to use his ability, or the clan castle because that takes a lot of time for him to take out as well. Sometimes the Warden can deal with a clan castle if it's all witches, if it's a lot of archers, something that your poison spell can really take care of for him. He'll be able to do that. But if you get a triple ice golem, if you get a hound, anything like that, it's going to take your Warden forever to get through it, and you're not going to get any funneling value out of him. And so we're going to drop our Warden up here, and that will keep him out of range of the king just barely. It'll keep him out of range of the clan castle as well. Drop the healers right on top of him, and as he's working on that, I like to drop my king to funnel. A lot of people put the king in the attack, and there's a lot of value in that, but the king is such an efficient funneling unit on his own that I like to drop him off to the side. Sometimes he walks in, sometimes he walks out. It really doesn't matter too much what direction he goes in, because he's going to get that funnel pretty well on his own. So the Warden's going to keep working here, and as soon as the triple ice golems come out of the clan castle, I drop the jump spell, and then you'll see we drop the poison as well. And the golems are walking out of it, but that's okay, because the poison's really for the king and queen. The golems aren't going to deal a lot of damage, and so we want to make sure that those healers are poisoned so they're not just decimating our army. Warden walks over, the healers walk over, and I dropped my army a little bit early, if you can tell. These cannons are still up, and so the funnel's not complete. You know, they still might walk off to the side, but with 3 ice golems, you can tell that they're going to get caught up for a second. It's going to take a while. 2 heroes are up here as well, so my army is going to take quite some time before they even walk into the base, and during that time, Yetimites and the wizards from the siege barracks are going to take out those cannons, are really going to help make sure the funnel is established and good enough as it goes through. I used wall breakers to get through the first half, and I'm using jump spells, 3 jump spells to get through this base instead of the quakes. And that's because quakes might be able to take out, you know, one chunk. They might be able to take out the chunk from the Expos to the Eagle, and that would be pretty valuable if we started on the opposite side. But the worry is that quakes would also open up to the sides. And with this base in particular, there's so much value all in a line on the middle of the base, all 4 Expos, the Scatters, the Eagle, that if they open up to the side and your army goes around them, you're toast. And so we wanted to make sure with the jump spells that we were able to guide the troops through the base in the direction that we needed them to go through. And so when you've got a base that's not quite so condensed and so compact as the first replay that we showed, you really want to take jump spells instead of quakes, and you're able to guide your troops exactly in the direction that you need them to go in. I do use my Warden ability over top of the town hall. My entire army is going through there, and so we really want to make sure that they stay healthy. And then as the siege barracks went down, I was intending for the hogs to go towards the south side, but they walked towards that north side, and that's okay. Drop my champion behind them to help tank up. I dropped the jump over this dead space. Typically, the troops wouldn't go through a dead space. I think there was a skeleton spell that helped, or a skeleton trap that helped them walk through there. But also, with the walls being up in the other areas, wasn't a lot for them to target anyway. And then they're able to walk slowly but surely through all 4 of these Expos. The champ and the hogs are going through that top side. And after they take out these scatter shots is where we enter that stalling out phase again. There's nowhere for a jump spell to take them. There are no walls that are already broken, and so right here in the attack is when we're about to lose almost all the value from our Yetis. They're going to be hitting walls for about the rest of the attack. Some Yetimites will still jump out, and that'll be nice, but at this point we still have the queen, and we still have the champion ability, and that's huge. I also dropped a baby drag up top to help clean up. I like to bring a baby drag into most attacks, but is mostly just my preference. And then as we see the rest of this replay, really we'll just see the Royal Champion be a warrior through it. The champ goes into all of these defenses. I use the ability a little bit early, but they're able to take out the Eagle, which is the main thing, and then the champ keeps going. The queen hits through the wall, still has her ability up, and the cleanup troops are working smoothly, and that's really all that there is to the Yeti Smash. Anytime you're putting all of one troop in the middle of a base and hoping that it works, that's kind of what the Yeti Smash feels like to me sometimes. You're kind of stat checking your army versus the enemy base. And anytime there's a stat check in the game, they try to make it feel a little bit random, try and make it feel a little bit unpredictable. And that was definitely the problem with Valkyries. You know, it's pretty unpredictable where they're going to go. That's the problem with a P.E.K.K.A. Smash. It can be a little bit unpredictable if they target the wrong thing halfway through the attack, really starts to go south. The Yetis are the most predictable of all of those, but there's still that stat check against a base. And so you want to stay in control of as many resources as you can for any of those bases that you're attempting to stat check. And so that's why it's so important to hold on to the Queen ability, so important to hold on to the Champ ability, and why, in my opinion, I think it's equally as important to take Hogs in your Siege Barracks, because all of those factors are ways that you are controlling that second half of the attack. Whereas if you're not, you know, you've got no more spells, you've got your whole army on the field, and you're just kind of hoping that it works for the second half of that attack. And if you're just hoping, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. That's the unpredictable factor to it. But if you're holding on to as many tricks as you can keep in your back pocket for that second half of the attack, that's what'll give you a successful Yeti Smash. So I hope that this attack guide helps you, especially if you're considering using Yeti Smash for this week of CWL. Senator's Clan is starting our CWL pretty soon here, and so if you're still looking for a place to go, feel free to swing on by and join Senators or Congress Clan. We could take any Town Hall 13, and we'll find a place for you. If you've already got a home, that's okay too. Good luck to you this week, and I hope that you join us back on this channel as we put out a lot more content in the coming week, seeing the cool bases that we're going against, the cool attacks that we're seeing in Champions League, and ultimately hoping to show you guys a promotion video at the end of the week. This is Clash Bros. Hope you stick around, and we'll see you in the next video.